Let's talk.
Spencer and Zach Explore the Universe is brought to you by Maine Spirits. Learn more about the delicious spirits they bring into the great state of Maine and what you can make with them at mainspirits.com, on Instagram at Maine_spirits, or download their app for your smartphone. Stay tuned at the end of the show for Happy Hour.
Spencer and Zach Explore the Universe is also brought to you by Bull Moose, now open for safe distance shopping. Get all of your music, movies, gaming, books, and pop culture needs at Bull Moose, with dozens of locations peppered throughout Maine and New Hampshire, or shop from home at bullmoose.com.
Also by State Theater, Portland, Maine. Though State Theater is closed for concerts at present, they are still working to bring you the best music entertainment in the comfort and safety of your home. Visit statetheater.com for more information, show schedules, and merchandise.
And by the Maine Music Alliance, a Maine-based nonprofit dedicated to the preservation of Maine's independent music venues. Learn more and donate at mainmusicalliance.org.
And by Sun Tiki Studios, a top-notch rehearsal and performance space on Forest Avenue in Portland. Though closed for concerts for the time being, Sun Tiki Studios is open for safe distance rehearsals. Learn more and book time at suntikistudios.com.
Nice.
Halloween is right behind us. A fun reason to celebrate, which is truncated by the current situation. And then if you're listening to this on Monday, tomorrow is Election Day, which is why, considering all of the fatigue from all of the current issues, that we will be yet again a source of escapism for you as we present our Daylight Savings Special. Nope, sorry. Our Daylight Savings Spectacular.
And what a spectacular show it's going to be as we celebrate this year's Daylight Savings.
Or, in the spirit of political debate, whether or not we should have it at all.
Ooh.
What is this? What is Daylight Savings Time? Why do we have it?
It's still so confusing.
It's very confusing, but to the best of my ability, I will attempt to summarize it here. Jones, jump in if I'm missing anything.
All right, I did some fact collecting, so I'll let you go and fill in the blanks.
Great, that sounds great. So the broad strokes, from what I can tell, daylight savings, because the Earth is on a tipped axis, right? So depending upon where we are, this is a little, get your books out, folks. I'm going to tell you something about, we're going to explore that universe, finally.
That's right, finally.
So
it's been in the name this whole time. This is our first time.
A bunch of shows about sandwiches and Steven Spielberg, but now, today, we explore the universe, finally. It's like the end of Meaning of Life, where they finally actually address the meaning of life. In like one. So yeah, as the Earth rotates around the sun, that means that various spots on the Earth are going to receive more sun during more of a daylight part. In fact, some spots are just plain dark for months at a time. Looking at you, Norway, during certain months. So in some places are light all the time for the same but opposite reason. So the goal of daylight savings time is to, depending on the locality, you know, where the shifts happen, when the shifts happen, is to keep more people in daylight more often. More people in more daylight more often. Do I have that right?
Yes, I think you've got that right.
Okay. And there are a number of different reasons behind that. One, keeping people in daylight. It's good. Vitamin D, right? Being awake while it's light out is a good thing. Also, if you're awake during times when you don't need to use as much energy because the sun is up, the sun provides us more exploring of the universe here, heat, and also light. So you're less likely to need to use lights. So in industrialized nations, it was also an energy concern. How am I doing?
You're doing great.
Thanks, man. It also has to do with farming and farmers and farmers' hours. So they are allowed to be out in the field longer during daylight hours, right?
This is the moment where I'm going to jump in.
Thank God.
So it turns out, from my research, it turns out the farmer thing is actually a myth.
Oh.
In that a lot of crops are not supposed to be harvested until after the morning dew has dried. So by sending farm workers to work an hour early and releasing them an hour early, they're actually less productive because they can't do as much in that first hour because they're waiting for the crops to dry.
Which I'm sure
actually
the farm workers are not complaining about.
No, the workers are probably loving it.
Yeah.
But the actual farmers, actually, many of them are against daylight savings. So I'm sure they don't appreciate being used for a scapegoat for its existence as well.
So as we have our running tally, and I'll go ahead and keep one. You can keep one as well.
Okay, well, I should probably get pen and paper here. Hang on.
Yeah. Always be recording. ABR. Against 4. So in the 4 column, more people in daylight more often. In more daylight more often.
That's right.
More light. More often. This must be exciting for the listeners.
Yeah, they're loving it.
Yeah. Against farmer productivity down.
That's right.
That's not good. Farmers already have it hard enough as it is. That's a hard job, farming.
Yeah, that's got to be a difficult one.
It doesn't seem like there's an aspect of the of farming that's the easy gig. You know, like running the farm can't be easy. Like my wife and I were driving by a farm, and those large irrigation systems.
Yep.
Like we see a lot of them, like out west especially, but you see them around here as well. Like they have these big wheels, and they were automated. They move, and they kind of like go in like a circle pattern. They water the fields, right? Mm-hmm. Like I couldn't even afford one of the tires. Like how much money do they have to put up for one of those things? Like so much.
Yeah, I don't get it.
It's crazy. So like, also you can get like a cheap potato. You think about they have to provide such volume. Just I don't know. Seems difficult. So like I'm going to consider that. I guess we should say that we're going to decide whether or not we keep daylight savings time or not by the end of this, I think.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yes. And our ruling will be definitive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Although, is this our first annual daylight savings spectacular? Do we have to figure out a different way to celebrate it next year?
Well, I mean, it happens twice a year, so
I guess you're right. Or I guess it depends on what the verdict of this is, whether it ever happens again.
Yeah, so. I mean, who knows? Like after we make our decision, we might have a different spring.
That's true.
Yep. And like the very concept that this show could make a difference.
What did you dress up as for daylight savings this year?
A farmer.
I dressed up as a big glass jar with daylight inside of it.
Oh wow, it must be an incredible costume. And what a great,
it sure is.
What a great.
If only you could see it.
Because normally this time of year, there's no reason to get dressed up and celebrate anything.
No, absolutely. I mean, yesterday I just hung out and did absolutely nothing. But
yeah, regular
as soon as daylight
Saturday,
savings came around.
Yeah, costumes out.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, we have a giant bowl of candy out at the front of our walk for all the neighborhood kids to come by and celebrate daylights. And we're gonna leave it out even later than we normally would because.
That's right. Or are we going to take it back an hour early?
Depending on where we land at the end of the show.
Depending on how this goes.
Depending on how this goes.
So there's a bowl of candy for the kids riding on this.
That's right. Bunch of candy for kids who aren't looking for it. The day after Halloween candy is suspect at best. It's like, why would you want to take anything edible from somebody who doesn't understand what day Halloween's on? Not that we're not recognizing Halloween on this show. We're recognizing daylight savings.
Exactly.
Twice a year.
Right, so am I correct in that we are 1 for and 1 against right now, or do we have a?
Yeah, so far. So far. It's funny. I came into this conversation kind of like pursuant to our conversation yesterday that I would be like avidly against it. But then the more I read about it, so we also, as fate would have it, our friend Ryan O'Connell has a blog called Giddy Up America, and he just posted a whole article on this, which was not going into it, reading it, I thought it was going to be more of like a history of it, but it was just an opinion, and he's very firmly in the get rid of it.
Yeah. I mean, his arguments against it were very, were very like 2020. You know, he's like, we've got enough going on already without it getting darker an hour earlier.
Yeah, and he also did make an argument that that the majority of people affected by daylight savings time aren't up to enjoy the hour earlier. So his argument was that it sounds like he's coming from more of a night owl perspective. Does that seem fair from your reading?
Definitely seems fair.
Okay. And as a former night owl, I could say, like, I see where he's coming from. But these days, things being as they are, I find myself operating on farmer's hours. And so I'm kind of up with the sun. And yeah, I've been getting up and it's been dark, which is weird, you know. But today, like, I woke up and it was like, oh, it's already like I don't know. It's just I'm able to these days, for the past several months, I've been enjoying all of the sunlight that the day has to offer, just because you know, turns out there aren't a lot of shows to go to, or like
a lot.
Like, you know, I actually had a conference call last week. And the only time that everyone could make it for this call was 8:15 p.m. And I was like, oh, my God, it's like the middle of the night. You know.
Brutal.
Like, really cutting into my jammy time here. Yeah, I, for one, have seen midnight, under 10 times since this all went down. Like, I just kind of go to bed early and I wake up super early. And you know what, Jones? I'm not afraid to admit it. I like it.
I could see that. I was doing that kind of early in the pandemic, but kind of back to night owl-esque. I see midnight a lot. And, you know, I'm definitely not like the old me who would stay in bed till noon, but definitely not 8 a.m. either.
I'm talking, I wake up between like 5 and 6.
Damn.
It's wild. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying that. It's not like a decision I made. It's just my body, I'm finding, when left to its own devices, mine anyway, will just kind of go with the sun. You know, and by the end of the day, I've put in...
Would you say you follow the sun?
Well, someday you'll know.
Yeah.
I was the one. You know?
Well...
But tomorrow might
may rain.
Yeah, exactly. So we can't afford to say the last thing.
No, that's too expensive.
It's way too expensive. So in the argument with the four, that more people, more daylight, more often, I get it.
Yeah, I do. But at the same time, is it more people? I mean, is there an official study on whatever early risers versus night owls? Do we know there are more early risers?
Keep it expounding on this. I'll look it up.
I would imagine that there's probably a fairly even split of some people who would prefer to have that daylight at the end of the day. Oh, so this is another thing, is that the fallback that we are, depending on when you're listening to this, have just experienced, is the end of daylight savings time. So like daylight savings observance is over the summer. It's when we spring forward. That's the start of daylight savings observance. And this is the end of it.
We've fallen behind now.
Yes. And so there are certain places that are advocating for daylight savings time to be the standard time all year round. And are those the night owls, I guess? Is this how it goes? The night owls versus the early risers?
Yeah, it might be. This might be, yeah, the certain factions. This is how.
Because I did see California is one of. So there's no state law that says states are required to
That's right.
Observe daylight savings, and actually, Hawaii and confusingly parts of Arizona do not observe daylight savings.
Yeah.
But I didn't write down in my notes officially what states it are. There are states, including California, who are pushing for the year-round observance of daylight savings time.
Wait, the year-round observance?
Yes. So, like, instead of falling back, we just stay on this time.
That we're in right now.
Exactly. Or on Monday and beyond's sake that we just left.
Okay. Here's how it's here's how it's inconvenient to me, presently and historically.
Okay.
Presently, it is convenient to gain an hour. So the fall one's kind of nice. Get an extra hour of sleep. In the spring, it stinks. You have to go to if you don't remember to go to bed an hour earlier or whatever, right? Then you're shy an hour. And who needs to be shy an hour of sleep? Am I right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, sleep is precious. So that is a constant inconvenience with daylight savings time. But it's also kind of zeroed out, isn't it?
Well, it is. Yeah, you have a 23-hour day in the spring, and then a 25-hour day in the autumn.
That's right.
Confusing.
But what is used to be inconvenient is when you actually had to set your clocks. Now, I think safe to say that the majority of people have clocks that update themselves.
That's right.
Be it on their televisions, computers, phones.
Anything connected to the internet, which is even your refrigerator these days.
Yes. Yes. So that inconvenience is kind of like you don't have to worry about it anymore. Some people do, but I bet it's a vast majority. And at worst, they have to just remember to set the kitchen clock, wall clock, or something. Like, yeah, there's. It's not convenient to have to like manage manual timepieces. In general, I mean, you have to put batteries in them anyway. You know, like whatever. Yeah. Unless you have like.
I mean, how many times do you used to go into people's houses and just see the 12 o'clock flashing on their VCRs?
Oh, totally.
It's like
totally.
It's another clock that I have to worry about setting. No thanks.
No thanks. Yeah. Can we invent the internet, please?
Yeah.
The VCRs. That's a big problem right now.
Until then, I'll just put a piece of tape over the blinking clock.
Yep. So, yeah, I don't know how much further we're getting in advancing the for or against. It's still kind of, you don't have to worry about changing your clocks, although you have to manage manual clocks. So we'll say that's against. Managing clocks. But also for.
Yeah, because you don't really have to do that.
Most clocks update themselves.
Yep. Ooh. Man, this is a tighter race than I thought it was going to be. It's exciting.
Yeah, I'm on the edge of my seat. So let's talk a little bit more about the history of it and where it came from. I believe it was brought into existence in New Zealand by George Hudson in the late 1800s. Is that right?
So that is correct. Before that, I guess the first noted mention of what I guess, or the concept anyway, was Benjamin Franklin. And wait, do I have the year here? He wrote a letter to the editor while he was living in Paris. It was 1784. It was the Journal of Paris. He wrote a letter to the editor, and that was his early to bed, early to rise, makes you healthy, wealthy, and wise. And it was basically a satirical observance, but he was, noticing people's habits with the daylight, and actually, like, sort of jokingly suggested, taxing candles and like window shutters and stuff like that, and making people take advantage of the daylight. But the first time it was proposed, like, to be put into practical use was the George Hudson, and I believe there's another name after that I didn't write down and forgot too. But it was definitely mentioned, a few times after Ben Franklin seriously proposed for practical use.
Okay, let's talk about Ben Franklin for a minute. we have learned that maybe a lot of what we learned in school was maybe either untrue or a distortion of the truth, or with certain truths omitted. The more I think about Ben Franklin, the more I'm hearing about this guy, the more I'm beginning to question whether or not he was completely full of shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's on the money. He's not only like on the money, but like when you're holding the bill he's on, you're like, I nailed it. Who doesn't like holding the crisp C note? You know what I mean?
Ooh, yeah. It's all about the Benjamins.
Yeah. I mean, there's songs about it.
Oh, man. We're going to have to pay Benjamins now to afford that I just said that.
Probably. But, like, he wasn't even president or anything. And
No.
I'm supposed to believe that this wingnut went out in a lightning storm with a kite with a key attached to it, which was struck by lightning, and the key glowed, and then he invented electricity. That's the takeaway.
There's so many stories like that we were taught when we were kids that are like turn these historical figures into like cartoon characters with superpowers.
Yes.
Like the cutting down of the cherry tree and not being able to tell a lie.
Sure.
Like all this stuff. It's like...
Yeah, like they're almost like biblical like parables.
Yeah.
You know? And like, if the story was presented to us like, oh yeah, Ben Franklin, a local crazy person, decided to fly a kite during a lightning storm, was struck by lightning. The lightning bolt traveled down the string through his arms, blowing one of his shoes off and cracking his glasses, rendering him blind in both eyes, with smoke coming out of his ears. And then he got up afterwards and then started saying all this crazy shit like early to bed, early to rise makes you healthy, wealthy, and wise, taking air baths and any other idea that all of these powdered wigged freaks that started this whole shit show just sat around just listening to whatever he had to say. Like, he was the smartest guy in the room and said, you know what? Let's put him on the hundo. Yeah. I might believe it if the story started like that. But no, he's just curious. And he's the only person who's like survived a direct lightning strike unscathed. But cool, Ben Franklin.
We need Marvel Studios to do a Benjamin Franklin origin film.
Yeah, he's already a superhero. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
Impervious to electricity. And also soap, apparently. Apparently you just need to take an air bath. Yeah. All right.
He got struck by lightning, blew the buckles right off his shoes.
So I'm going to say against it. Ben Franklin was for it.
Fair enough.
I no longer believe Ben Franklin's bullshit. I'm out. And I'm just going to, you know what? I don't want 20s either, because I don't like that face. I'm just getting rid of money altogether. God, money. There's no safe faces on money.
Why not?
Moving on.
Also, one of the dudes, I think not Hudson, but the other guy, his argument in favor of daylight savings time was it was something about like he got tired of the sun going down when he was trying to play golf. He was, I don't know if that's a for or against. I don't play golf. So.
Well, you're not a politician, but the Winston Churchill said or argued that it enlarges, quote, the opportunities for the pursuit of health and happiness among the millions of people who live in this country, which would be England. Mm-hmm. And not that I needed to say that to anybody. Winston Churchill, a historical figure I don't have a hard time believing in. Seemed like a very rooted in common sense kind of fella. Yeah. For it. Take that, Ben Franklin. Right. For it. Winston Churchill's into it.
One of the, or I guess like the two main arguments I keep reading that are for it are mental health. Everybody says, obviously like when people are going to work in the dark or getting on the bus when it's dark, it's depressing.
Yes, it is.
I can see that.
Yep.
But it's also depressing when it's dark at 5 p.m. But then the other big argument for it was energy conservation.
Yes.
And so before it was officially implemented anywhere, a lot of countries implemented it during the World Wars, both of them, mostly to save fuel, so they would use less artificial light.
Harness the power of the sun, my boy.
That's right.
My
the
boy.
power of the sun in the palm of my hand.
I don't think I've ever said that to anybody in my life. I mean, maybe because I'm not like a 150-year-old castle owner. Anyway.
Yeah, so I don't know where I'm going with that other than just saying that, yeah, during both World Wars, they did it too. And also, so it was officially implemented in the United States in 1966.
Yep.
And it was called the Uniform Time Act, which I guess was pretty handy when there was a energy issue in the 70s. But yeah, prior to that, during the World Wars, they were just like, hey, let's save our whatever, lantern fuel.
A couple notes, Jones. One,
Go on.
2 4s are energy conservation, because that's a good idea.
It is a good idea. But there are studies now that say that it doesn't actually really conserve energy.
How? Okay.
So, but I'm sure it did in the war. I'm sure they were like, oh yeah, we're saving up on this lantern fuel or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Or maybe we just don't give a shit anymore. We just leave everything on all the time.
That is also true.
Yeah, that's also true. Aiding in the prevention of depression, that's a good thing. And I think I think it might be more depressing to wake up in the dark than to be coming home in the dark. Based solely upon my own experience.
See, I'm kind of the other way around.
You'd rather wake up and have it be dark out?
Yeah, I think so.
That's nuts. First argument on the show. Jones, you are out of your mind.
Man, that early darkness, man, it's rough. Yeah, I'd rather wake up in the dark and have more. I'd rather sit and have my coffee in the dark.
All right,
and
pal.
then do my daytime things in the light.
You're gonna say that you're a night owl? You stay up if this were like before times, normal times, right?
Yeah.
You'd sleep in pretty late, thusly only leaving yourself in the cold months, the dark months, a few hours of daylight anyway, a handful. And
Exactly.
then you're gonna
So I may
stay
as well
up
get
all
an
night.
extra
And
one.
you'd go to bed like what, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning.
Yeah, probably.
You're wittingly spending most of your time in the dark anyway, so why the heck are you making an argument on the few people who care, if I may play devil's advocate here in a very convincing way, what people are doing with their daylight time in the morning when you wouldn't even be awake anyway? It sounds to me, Jones, like you're someone who doesn't even care about sunlight anyway.
Shun the sun, man.
Shun the sun. Did that feel I was trying to go for a Morton Downey Jr. vibe there. Yeah, so what would daylight savings in earnest, all rhetoric aside, what's it matter to a night owl anyway?
Because any productivity you're gonna have prior to going out and being the night owl, I guess you're gonna want those daylight hours for. And if you're waking up at noon and then it's dark by 4:30, it's I don't know.
No,
this is a poor argument.
No, it's not. No, I think you're circling around on a great argument, which is that if you are spending most of your, because people work different shifts, and if you're spending most of your time, and this just isn't about working shifts. Like some people are wired to be more night owl. Some people are wired to be more early bird. Early bird gets the worm. Did Ben Franklin come up with that too? But if you're inclined to be up more during the daylight anyway, you're gonna get more of it. And then if you're inclined to wake up later and stay up later, you're gonna be getting less anyway. So if it shifts back and you have that could be a precious hour taken away from the night owl. Right? So what I would say is get a real job at the grocery store that starts at a reasonable hour.
Well, let's say I do have that reasonable job, and I punch the clock at 5 p.m. And I'm on my way home, and it's already dark, and I'm just like, day's over. Time to just put on the PJs and watch TV. Versus if I had another hour of daylight, maybe I'd stop by Mr. James's corner store and do some local business, and then maybe I don't know, go sit and watch the sunset and enjoy nature for a second. Versus it's dark, I'm gonna go home and be depressed and then go work again tomorrow.
But that bus ride in the morning, though.
But I mean, who's keeping their eyes open on the bus ride to work anyway?
Oh, me, man. My new thing is I used to sleep until the last minute possible, which resulted in missing a lot of things and being late often. And then also having that first meeting, whatever that first engagement was, probably not me at my best, most fast on my feet thinking. So I tend to wake up a couple of hours earlier than I need to be anywhere anyway, because I want that time to myself. And I'll tell you what, I enjoy it in the daylight more. Now, I will say that, like, prior to this morning, I have been waking up and it's been dark, and I've been watching the sunrise, which is also totally cool. So, or against it, I guess it would be against it. Against it, I would say people who wake up earlier get enough sunlight anyway, as much as the day has to offer. And like you're saying, like, what happens? You get out of work, it's 5 o'clock, you go sit in your jammies, like, sing me that beautiful song. Like, what? Go right home and get in my pajamas and watch a movie? Thank you very much. This sounds great. So, against daylight savings time staying as it is that early birds get sun anyway. And night owls need that extra hour at the end.
Yeah.
That's a strong against.
I mean, because there's nothing stopping the earlier bird from just being an earlier bird if they want that sunrise.
I'll agree. As a present, I feel like I'm in a unique position on this debate because I have experience as both the owl and the bird, because an owl's not a bird.
I feel like I need to change my tally from for and against to birds versus owls.
Well, I mean, it seems to be kind of like a cross section here. Like this is. I mean, because farmers and non-farmers too. Yeah. What else could be a benefit to having more daylight earlier? Like, I don't know. I think we're kind of like, tell you what, let's go take the Bull Moose minute, and we'll come back and we'll try to wrangle in a few more fors and a few more againsts, and then we'll come to a conclusion.
I've got a couple more facts to drop on you in the meantime too.
Oh, did they come from Benjamin Franklin?
They did not. I don't trust that guy anymore.
He's a jerk. I went to say he's a jerk and a joke, and I came out with he's a jerk.
He's a jerk.
All right, Jobins, we'll see you in a bit.
All right. Hello, friends. Zach Jones here with your Bull Moose Minute, available right now at Bull Moose, a brand new record from Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. This is the Boss's 20th studio album. It's called Letter to You, brand new, 12 tracks. Of the record, the Boss says, I love the emotional nature of Letter to You, and I love the sound of the E Street Band playing completely live in the studio in a way we've never done before, and with no overdubs. We made the album in only 5 days, and it turned out to be one of the greatest recording experiences I've ever had. That's the Boss saying that. So check out Letter to You by Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, available right now on CD and LP at Bull Moose. And arriving this week, a brand new record from Busta Rhymes, his first record release in 11 years. This record is called Extinction Level Event 2, The Wrath of God. And of course, ELE2, The Wrath of God, marks Rhymes' return with his star-studded follow-up to the seminal 1998 three-time Grammy-nominated platinum-selling record, Extinction Event, The Final World Front. That's going to be available on LP and CD, so visit bullmoose.com and order your copy, browse their selection. If you'd like to visit a store, you can find the location nearest you. They've got locations in Maine and New Hampshire where they are open for retail with pandemic protocols in place for your safety. and they carry all of your entertainment needs, your LPs, your CDs, your DVDs, your video games, your books, your posters. Bull Moose has pretty much got it all. So visit Bull Moose. You can find them Bull Moose stores on Instagram, find them on Facebook, or bullmoose.com. This has been your Bull Moose Minute.
Still on the fence, Jones.
Right.
I'm on the fence.
Well, I'm here and ready to listen to arguments. As a night owl, I feel like I have a little bit more flexibility. I don't know.
No, I mean, I feel like you've got more to lose here.
That's true, because that extra hour of daylight is nice.
Even as an early bird, I'm going to sit on this side of the daytime fence and still recognize my brethren, who is a night owl, and your needs.
Well, here's something sort of interesting.
Okay.
When daylight savings time was initially instituted in the U.S. In 1966, it originally ran from the first Sunday of April to the last Sunday of October. But we have a current system that was changed in 2007. I was not paying attention when that happened because this was the first I read about it. But apparently in 2005, President George W. Bush, who I didn't agree with on many things, but on this one, he signed something that extended daylight savings time by 4 weeks, which was officially implemented in 2007. And that's how we have the current March to November system instead of the old school one. So, Bush was taking us a little closer to this year-round daylight savings time, which I think I'm kind of wanting to get on board with.
Interesting. And I was also thinking about the energy. Under 4, we have energy conservation, right? But I'm thinking about it. Yeah. So I'm not only am I thinking about it, it's backed up with data. Like, yes, it does.
Wait.
You got some facts?
I can find some.
No, I'm good to go on this one. Locked and loaded.
Okay.
Yeah. The analysis from 44 studies found that daylight savings times leads to a savings of 0.3% during the days when it applies. But that same study shows that that's electricity, right? The savings in electricity may also be offset by extra use of other types of energy, such as heating fuel. So it's that's 6 and 1/2 dozen of the other. So in the four keeping, and when we're saying 4 daylight saving times, we're like status quo, keep it as is. And I'm gonna vote to remove that from the 4 because it's not a 4; it's just a zero-sum game. What say ye?
I'm going to agree with that.
Did you hear that? That's me crossing it out.
Ooh.
Yeah. Ooh.
So let's make sure we've got the same tally here. What do you have for against?
Against, I've got farmer productivity down. It's not easy on the farmer. Against, I wrote down, managing your manual clock. Against, Ben Franklin was for it. Because he, as we know, he's a Jew. He's a Jobin. Against, early birds get the most sun you can have anyway. And yeah, like maybe going to work in the dark is not super pleasant, but it gets lighter. And at least you get some, it's 6 of one, half dozen the other. But if you're somebody who's geared more towards a night owl lifestyle, that hour at the end really means something. So, and that would be argument 5, is that night owls need the extra hour in the end. I guess those are kind of connected in a way. And then for 4, I have more people enjoy more light more often. I was unable to conjure what percentage of the population are owls versus birds.
Well, maybe one of our loyal listeners can leave that fact in the comments below.
Yes, like, share, subscribe. So I really, yeah, Jones, I really want to research this a little bit more. I wish I had thought of it before we jumped in, but let's Google how many people are night owls versus early birds. That was a really unintelligent way to ask the question, but I feel like
I'm sure Google's used to it.
The percentage.
Did you find some?
Yeah, I did. Wow. Holy shit.
Go on.
I mean, if this study is right, it says most other sources state that intermediates account for 80% of the population, and night owls and early birds account for the remaining 20%.
Wait, so it's not even...
So, like so many arguments, it's by 20%. If I represent the early birds, I'm only really representing 10%, and you as a night owl only 10%, and everyone else is kind of just in the middle somewhere.
So 80% of people probably don't give a shit as much as we do.
I mean, I think that, I mean, honestly, if you and I didn't think that it was an awesome idea to have a daylight savings spectacular, I'm not sure that I would give a shit either. But we gotta stick to our guns here, pal.
That's right.
So more people. That one's out.
Yeah, I think that's out.
Before daylight savings time is not faring well.
No. While you have your facto machine out,
Yes.
Can you look up? Apparently, one of the arguments is that there are less traffic accidents.
Yes.
But I think that was another one that was a zero-sum game, or at least there, depending on what study you looked at, it didn't make a difference. But people still argue it.
Coming up. Daylight savings time. Deadly accidents spike 6% in the week after the time change. That's not
that's just
good.
because people had their sleep schedule fucked with.
Let's put that in against. More car death. I mean, that's like a big increase.
Yeah. Would you say 6%?
6%. Deadly,
that
a
is a hefty
6% increase in deadly automobile accidents in the week after a time change.
Wow.
And I bet that's based upon if you're finding an earlier morning than you had because your schedule's screwed up, that. And at the end, you're getting more into that dangerous twilight or sunset driving time, which I think is dusk. Dusk is a bad time to drive. So you might need that.
Oh, yeah.
You need that. I think you need that hour more at night, right?
Yeah, that's the worst when you're driving when the sun's going down. It's like right in your face. You pull down the sun visor and you're like trying to see out the window enough, but also the sun's right in your face.
It's a nightmare. I mean, I guess it depends on whether you're driving east or west, too. What percentage of people drive east as opposed to west?
These are important numbers that we need.
We're woefully underprepared for this.
Is this? And at the same time, it might be our most scientific episode.
Sadly, it is. And we're still... I feel like we're two people in front of class making a presentation that we did very, very cursory glance studying.
You might feel that way because the only thing that's missing is the classroom.
Yeah, and sadly, like this is probably the most research that I've done for any show. Otherwise, we're just talking about Star Trek, which I've done my research.
Yeah, I'm very well researched on Star Trek.
And that's going to help us a lot.
Unfortunately, daylight savings is not a topic I believe to have been tackled on an episode of Star Trek in all these years. So,
yeah, I'm seeing there's lots of articles here from there's one from Vox, another reason to hate daylight savings time, car crashes. Ninjapirate.org. No, just kidding. Business Insider. Daylight savings time is deadly. Heart attacks and heart attacks.
Whoa.
Let me jump in here. Oh, you know what? The photo is a picture of a guy managing manual clocks, and he looks miserable.
It's stressing him out.
Yeah,
He's having a heart attack. It's just like, I don't even know how to work this clock. It's freaking me out. Why couldn't we just left it alone?
The opposite interruption in springtime. So, like, this is the springtime, right? When we lose an hour of sleep can kill people. Incidents of heart attacks, strokes, and fatal car accidents all spike around the start of daylight savings time. Dude, I'm against more, not just Carter, more death.
Whew.
No thanks, death.
Yeah, no thanks. Stay away, Death.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. You said you had some more facts. Do you want to
I think
lay them on me?
Let me take a look here.
Yep.
I may have kind of worked my way through everything I had written down. There are only 70 countries in the world that observe daylight savings time. Obviously, the equator countries don't care.
Right.
But really, it's like North America, parts of the European Union, parts of Australia. And then there are a lot of countries that tried it and stopped it. And a handful that have just never used it. But really, on the Wikipedia page, there's actually a map of where it's in use. And it's really mostly just North America. And as I said, in parts of Europe.
So that's 70 out of roughly almost 200 countries in the world?
Probably something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, how many countries in the world?
I don't know. I didn't just Google it. It doesn't just say 195 countries. I just knew that it was roughly 200.
Yeah, there you go.
Because scholar.
Yeah, you did your research.
Yes, I'm a scholar.
Before this presentation.
I did my research 3 seconds before answering that question. Motion to adjourn? Sorry. Dismissed. Yeah, I mean, so like we're already in the minority. This is almost starting to feel like feet, the standard versus metric. Like, what's the holdup with the standard? Like,
yeah,
how many feet are in a mile? Pop quiz. Pop quiz. Just lay it on me.
I'm gonna fail. I don't even know.
You have any guess?
How many feet? No.
It's right around 5,000, right?
Okay. Yep.
But how many meters in a kilometer or a kilometer?
A kilo's worth.
It's 1,000. Yeah. It's like, it's easy. Like, why are we all these arbitrary measurements based upon, who probably invented the standard measurement system? It was probably fucking Ben Franklin.
Probably.
After he got struck in the brain by lightning.
I read something once about things that we observe in the United States that are not observed elsewhere, and I don't remember them even saying daylight savings time, but they did mention our refusal to embrace the metric system, and they were talking about some international space project. A bunch of scientists from a whole bunch of different countries working on this project, and in the end, something really simple got really fucked up on it. And it was because the American guy was the only guy not using the metric system and entered some numbers incorrectly, or numbers that were interpreted incorrectly, because just one person couldn't get with the program, or at least representatives from one country couldn't get with the program that everybody else was using.
I feel like if you're going 50 miles an hour, you're doing 75 kilometers per hour, right? Roughly. I mean, it's just higher. That's cooler. I was out on the highway doing about 100, 120. Still safe. I'm seeing here that in 1821, Secretary of State John Quincy Adams determined that the U.S. customary system was sufficiently uniform and required no changes. So I'm not going to do any more research on this because I'm going down a rabbit hole. But that's enough. That's enough information for me to just go ahead and jump to the conclusion that Ben Franklin is at the bottom of this shit. All right. Okay.
There's a Franklin conspiracy the whole time.
Against daylight savings time, Ben Franklin invented the U.S. standard measurement system. Fact.
Yeah.
Fact. Yeah, I'm just going to say Ben Franklin and against. So 4, we're left with most clocks update themselves, so we don't have to worry about it. But then I'm looking at that picture of that guy adjusting all those wall clocks, and he did not look like he was swinging
having
on
a heart attack.
Yeah. 4, Churchill believes in it. And 4, it aids in depression prevention, which that's a health benefit, right?
It is, but again, I would say that's sort of offset by the fact that getting dark early is, if you're somebody that, doesn't wake up that extra hour early, then you're going to be depressed if it gets dark earlier in the day.
That's right. So, additionally, whatever the benefit, so that's like a zero-sum game as it is. Let me take it into a negative, if you don't mind.
Oh, if I don't mind at all, take it where you want.
There's an increase in deaths, in car accidents, stroke, and heart attack. Definitely offsets. If the morning depression versus evening depression is a zero-sum game, which I think is fair to say, whereas 80% of people seem unfazed by that. So we're talking about 10 and 10 on either side. This death 6% increase death toll, that affects that's everybody.
Yeah.
So that's negative. I'm going to cross that off. So the only arguments that you and I have been able to come up with in favor of daylight savings time is that most clocks update themselves, and Winston Churchill believed in it. I think I've made up my mind.
Yeah, I think this is like one of those like little league games where the score gets really uneven and they just call the game.
Yep.
Like the mercy rule.
Yep. Citing farmers' production being down. Citing having to manage manual wall clocks. Citing that the dishonorable Benjamin Franklin was for it. Citing that early birds get more sun anyway. Citing that night owls need the extra hour in the end. Citing an increase in death from car accidents, heart attacks, and strokes by an unacceptable 6% increase after the daylight savings shift in time. It is hereby, am I going down the right path here, Jones?
Absolutely.
It is hereby deemed illegal by this podcast to have daylight savings time. Moving forward, it is to be abolished one time all year long. Case dismissed, and we'll cut over to case dismissed. No, case closed. Jones for closing comments.
Well, that was a riveting game. For a minute, it looked like 4 really had a chance, but really against came up, and once they took control of the game, they just didn't look back. They were hitting all their shots from every corner of the court, and what we have here is just a victory, well deserved for the people who are against daylight savings time.
The abolition of daylight savings time.
That's right.
Well, I know I'm going to go to bed tonight feeling like I did my part to make a difference.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's something going on Tuesday, which people should probably participate in and try to make a difference as well. But I think that what we've done here is probably the most important thing that's going to happen this week.
I couldn't agree more. And I don't even know what you're talking about. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Tuesday's trash night.
That's right.
I'm on it. I will participate.
Yeah, I hope it's not trash night, but that's a different conversation.
In fact, I brought my trash out early.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
I also brought my trash out early.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah. And I got a sticker and I wore it proudly.
Yes, I brought my trash out. I need to be rewarded for everything that I do. All right.
All right.
Good.
Well done.
Good talk.
Nice job saving the universe.
You're welcome, everybody.
Until next
That's
week.
right. Bye-bye.
Signing off.
No, I'm signing off. I am saying goodbye on behalf of the show. Spencer Ollie saying goodbye from Spencer and Zach Explore the Universe. Last word on the show was me. Goodbye. It's time for Happy Hour, presented by Main Spirits. My voice. It's weird to listen to it all the time. Welcome to Happy Hour, presented by Main Spirits, and welcome to Cointreau Month. Last month, we showcased absinthe in an effort to show you many drinks that you could make that involve absinthe. Because you know what? When you buy some of these bottles of liqueur, they are not cheap. So it's best to have a few drinks that you can make with them. So last month, absinthe. This month, Cointreau. And the drink we're going to make is called the Orange Celery Margarita. And let's get some tools together. Shaker, strainer, jigger, paring knife, rocks glass. For ingredients, we will need the following: Cointreau, Blanco tequila, celery juice, fresh lime juice, OJ, and an orange slice. Let's build this thing. In a shaker full of ice, add the following: 1 ounce of Cointreau, 2 ounces Blanco tequila, 1 ounce celery juice. Now, how do you get the celery juice? Well, I put a bunch of celery in the Cuisinart and whipped it up, and then chopped it up there and put it in a strainer and let the juice come out. But you can figure it out. Muddle it is another way you could do it. And then take also 0.5 ounces of fresh lime juice and 0.5 ounces of fresh orange juice and shake in the strainer. Nope. Strain in the shaker? Nope. Shake in the shaker. Ding! Until cold, and strain into a rocks glass full of ice, and then garnish it with your orange slice. Now let's take a sip. Most strangely refreshing. Kind of makes you feel kind of like a Bloody Mary a little bit because of the celery vibe. I don't know. It's just tequila. It's more like Bloody Maria. The lime juice, the OJ. Very refreshing anyway. And that celery juice really makes it unique. You can find out how to make more drinks like this and other drinks at mainspirits.com. You can follow them on Instagram at main_spirits, or you can download their app for your smartphone, which has all kinds of tools to help you make delicious drinks in the comfort and safety of your own home. And we only have one request, and that's that you make these drinks and enjoy them deliciously and responsibly. Spencer and Zach Explore the Universe is brought to you by Main Spirits, Bull Moose, State Theater Portland, Maine, Sun Tiki Studios, and the Maine Music Alliance. This show is a Mistakes Were Made production.